Okay, so sorry, that was my pressing
That is the most
question for you,
vital,
but
that's the most vital question of this whole podcast. Not just this episode, the entirety of the season. Sex aside, do cell phones work in space?
will I still be addicted to Instagram in space?
Will I still receive dick pics in space? Okay. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, we're gonna edit that out. Um,
No, no, we're not.
hey, all you cool cats and kittens. If you're listening to this, I just want you to know this is just for fun. We're idiots just having a good time talking about sex in space. This is not for education. This is not for anything serious. It's just for a good time. So stick around, hang out, have fun, tell your friends about it, and let's get the show rolling.
Hello, Eric.
Hey, Alicia, what is up?
Oh, nothing much. Just recording another episode of the 0g-SPOT podcast. What about you?
I am going to guess that I'm doing the same thing, and I think we've got some more exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so what are we going to be talking about
Okay,
today?
so I had a thought earlier. Being in space is not necessarily the best place for your looks, right? I think we learned all about how space does everything it can to make you look and feel not good. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about it, like if I were going on a first date in space, I think there's a big uphill battle there. I think especially if I've been in space for a while, I'm probably a bit grimy at that point. The showers aren't exactly the best, and you know, it's a different environment. So, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what? How do you feel about like how you would prepare for a first date?
Well, I heard somewhere that there are no showers. You're just doing sponge baths on yourself.
It is
Is that
yeah, it's a
correct?
bit of a sponge bath situation.
Yeah, so if I'm trying to feel myself and get into the mood for a date or boundary breaking, record breaking first sex in space, for instance, it's going to take me a long time to overcome all of these bodily functioning issues and the grime and like I don't know, is sponge bathing myself really going to make me feel sexy enough, like prepared enough
You're just gonna have to
to
you're gonna
flirt,
have to do the analog astronaut thing and just do sponge baths the next 6 months in down here on Earth to test it.
to test it
Yeah,
out?
then you'll know.
Oh yeah, I could do that. But I'm gonna hazard a guess that the answer is no. It's not gonna feel as nice as taking a hot, steaming shower. And so, what else can I actually pack with me in my little space satchel, to have a tool, any tool that makes me feel better? That's my question.
Yeah, and I think there are certain companies and people working to make that happen, to make people feel good about themselves in space, or at least look good. And I think our guest today is probably one of those people that can help us figure this out.
And that is why we are absolutely thrilled to have Shalini Vadhera on today's episode. Shalini,
Hey guys, so good
welcome.
to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Excited to have you on and learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you guys know much about Ready, Set, Jet, but we just broke a couple world records.
I think we would love to
Tell
hear all
us.
about that. Yeah.
Well, I've been in beauty for over 25 years. I like to joke around and say I'm really 75, and it's all these amazing beauty secrets I've found all over the world that make me look this young. But that's not necessarily the case. But this is actually my third beauty brand. I had spent most of my career really discovering beauty secrets from different countries and celebrating culture and rituals. And when I started my career, I started pretty much at a Clinique counter, while my dad had given me $1,000 and a plane ticket to India and told me to start my own company, which of course I hysterically cried thinking they were secretly arranging my marriage. So everything about this podcast is taboo in my culture. But I was working at the counter, and then I got my big break on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and went on to be a big, worked with a lot of celebrities that got me on television. And really, nobody was talking about why Indian women were known for their traffic stopping shiny hair, and why Chinese women never seemed to age, and why Brazilian women had these amazing bodies. And it wasn't genetics, it was these amazing rituals and traditions that had been passed down for centuries. And so that's really what I started talking about. It hit in a really big way. I went on to write a best-selling book, Passport to Beauty, which hit number one twice, and then launched my first brand in Sephora, Victoria's Secret, Nordstrom, Dillard's, Walgreens, you name it. Exited that brand, was a little bummed that there was not enough resources and mentorship and access for women. So launched a women's platform, which then the United Nations asked me to launch globally on the floor of the UN, which was amazing. Went on to do my next brand, Passport to Beauty, based on my book, with a media deal out of Amsterdam. So it was traveling the world, finding all the beauty secrets, going into a lab and creating the products for you, literally delivering the entire destination on your doorstep. And then out of nowhere, found out I was receiving the Mahatma Gandhi Award from the British House of Lords. And that's when the government of India and Britain came to me and they said, we want more impact. And this is really where Ready, Set, Jet starts. And so I realized that I was creating brands for a lot of different, Hollywood studios, like Paramount. I created the Baywatch movie brand, Turner Classic Movies, different celebrities and influencers. And at that point, I was like, do we really need another red lipstick? No. We need to use beauty as a vehicle for change. And this was the brand where I was like, we're going to innovate and we're going to push every boundary. We're going to break every barrier. We're going to cross every border. And so really went into a lab, taking all of those secrets, but finding some amazing biotech that really came down to saving women time, space, and making it super easy and really high performing. And while I was creating the products, I was with my chemist and I'm like, Ready, Set, Jet. We got to Ready, Set, Jet this to Richard Branson, and these need to go to space. And I left it. And here we are now as the world's first certified beauty brand for human spaceflight in the world, and also breaking defense records because of how quickly we were able to do it. And, as the universe always supports big ideas and dreams, if you stick to it, we passed every rigorous test with flying colors. And in fact, we got a call from the CEO of one of the space partnerships we went into, and he was laughing and he's like, Shalini, like, we're all sitting here scratching our heads. How did you know the exact percentages for space? And I'm like, I honestly cannot even take credit for that. I knew the solutions that we were, solving. And that was really about, the fact that, with climate change and the fact that post pandemic, we're running around with these crazy, stressful lifestyles, like all that stress is inflaming us. And very similar to what happens to the skin when you're in space and you're in a 0G environment. And so I wanted to use space as our ultimate testing ground, the harshest aging environment in the world, to see if we could actually validate thousands of years of ancient wisdom with this incredible biotech. And we did it.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite the
Congratulations.
journey. I'm curious. You mentioned about wanting to send your products to space. I'm curious, what is your personal interest in space and the space industry?
Well, I have a crazy spiritual side. I'll just say it right up from, I mean, my car was struck by lightning when I was going to meet a Korean master in Sedona, changed my whole life. So for me, I've always loved to pioneer first and foremost. I was pretty much one of the first to break global beauty in the United States. I was the first South Asian to break into mainstream beauty. So for me, I love to be very rebellious and very revolutionary in being able to create new verticals that don't exist in markets. So that's first and foremost. That's one thing I love about space, is that we get to pioneer again. We get to learn. There's so much science and innovation and data that we get to bring to from orbit to Earth. And then the second thing is like, as much as I love astronomy, I love astrology, and so I feel very much like I get to dance with the cosmos and play in that playground right now with space. I find space just so limitless, and just like there's just so much opportunity. And I love the fact that beauty is such a universal language. It's something that every woman I've met, whether they're in a slum, a village, on Rodeo Drive, like they all speak the language of beauty, whether that's, this is what makes me feel beautiful, this is what makes me feel confident, this is how I like to look good. I may not have money, but We have all these beautiful herbs and indigenous, traditions that we use. And so for me, the easiest way to bridge space, which seems so far away and so unattainable and untouchable, is to utilize all the learnings from space and bring it back into a language that every woman I know across the globe speaks. And that's, for me, what space brings. It just brings an entire new world and new beauty and really next gen products on longevity and biohacking and all the things that we want to learn, to look good and to really be able to care for our skin because it's the largest organ on our body.
Hmm. And you mention all of these lessons that we have to learn from space. And I also heard you mention that your products are space certified and that they underwent some tests. Can you tell us more what space certified means and maybe some of that testing and the lessons that were
Yeah,
learned
I
from
mean,
them?
first of all, when I randomly, all of this happened by, again, the universe bringing me the right people at the right time. I met a guy on a walk, and he's like, "What's your moonshot?" And I'm like, My moonshot at this point is space. Like, I want space." And it turned out he worked for one of the larger space companies, which I didn't know until weeks later after I had given him some products that I got a text saying, "Hey, do you want to talk to my CEO and COO in Houston?" And I'm like, "What's in Houston? I really need to know." And it turned out to be this space company. And so when I met them, I said, "Look, we have an opportunity to break an entire vertical that doesn't exist." And they said, "Well, look, we're really fascinated about, with these products. So do you mind if we put them through testing?" And so they went through a lot of, it kind of actually made me nervous because I had all of these people in my formulas, which I've never really, given full access to my formulas, especially with a lot of proprietary biotech and a lot of, trade secrets that we use, and that I brought in from 25 years of formulating. So we had everything, from the microgravity testing to radiation, vibration, also human spaceflight specialists going through all the formulas, engineers, scientists looking at the off gassing, like things I didn't even think about, like the off gassing of the components, like the toxicity levels. All of our products are anhydrous technology, waterless, which actually worked out perfectly for space. So there was no, particulate that was going to float. There was none of that was going to happen. And actually, I can show you. So these are the world's first beauty batons. And so they're all, anhydrous formulas, which takes a lot of stability testing. You've got to do a lot of testing for things that are going to work in certain components because anhydrous, if you think about it, and Alicia, you would know this, like a lot of makeup out there has so much water and filler to dilute the pigments and dilute the concentration of the formulas. We don't have that. These are straight up as concentrated as you can get. So it went through everything from the formulas, the ingredients to make sure there was nothing toxic, there was nothing that could, um, you know, maybe get in the way of like the ISS or the capsules that they were going to be flying on. Also, they're very portable. These come apart. So they're the first in the world that actually come apart. So, if you're traveling, they're very portable and very easy. So yeah, a lot of 8 months of rigorous testing. And we had no idea. I mean, I was talking to someone that had just gone to space with their product, completely different category, but it took them 9 years. And for me, I feel a little bit blessed in the sense that I didn't go in knowing that I was 100% making this for space. I was making this for the everyday woman and consumer, and knowing that we wanted to validate the performance in the harshest environment known to man. But if you had come to me and said, your components can't have any off gassing, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have this, then I probably would have twisted myself into a knot trying to put something like that together. So yeah, so that was just some of the testing, but it was quite a long ordeal, and these flew up on the Axiom 4 mission. So we had an astronaut man crew. We were able to further validate the performance in space on the microgravity, on the radiation. So we know these are going to work really well if you're a flight attendant and you're exposed to all of that. We know that these reduce the inflammation significantly. They build the respiratory levels at the cell level. They increase the moisture barriers. So all the things that obviously you would need if you're in space, but that translate really, really well to all of us just running around and needing products that really are going to adapt to climates, adapt to, polluted cities, desert regions, all of that. And so that's really what all of that testing also brought us, the knowledge, even deeper knowledge around our formulas.
That's amazing. And I've almost sent some payloads to the ISS, so I understand the rigor that they put payloads through and like the technical guidelines. It's a multi-hundred-page document,
Yes.
especially for anything going on ISS itself. Crew safety is taken very seriously, so I definitely understand that. And just as a description for anyone who might be listening to this and not watching, they've kind of got a bit of like a glue stick form factor, right? Is what I would associate it to. And just to give everyone a visual in case they're not looking at that. Um,
Yeah,
I
like the capsule comes off, the
yeah,
ends do that too. So who would have thought? I didn't even know that until I was at Cape Canaveral looking at all the rockets. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, we wanted to make it easy. And, what we've learned from now going to space, and these have now come back as official space grade formulas, is just so much more that we can learn on how the skin regenerates in microgravity, all of these things that we can now go into a lab and start really creating some really unique products.
Wow. Could you tell me more about the process of, um, so I assume that most of the 8 months of testing were in the lab, on Earth, looking through all of the effects of radiation and the anhydrous formulation that you were talking about. And then on the Axiom mission, that was a matter of days? How long were the products
Yeah.
up there, and who did you partner with to actually do tests in space? How do you have
Yeah,
that
so we partnered
conversation?
with Axiom so we could validate the formulas. So Axiom was a wonderful partner on that. Everything, all these formulas were exposed to all the harsh conditions of being in space, right? So everything that would go on in space, they were all exposed to that. Now, post space, so they were up there for 20 days. It was a 20-day mission, 8.4 million miles,
Wow.
320 times they orbited the Earth. Gosh, I can, Commander Peggy Whitson, actually, we have a very strong impact initiative with this brand. We're 90% female funded. So we actually have a Pass the Baton initiative, and it was a really amazing moment to have Commander Peggy Whitson, the most decorated female astronaut in history, officially pass us back the space flown batons and tell us about the entire mission and how far they traveled and everything that they went through. So now what we do is one part of the batons will go into further testing here on Earth to see how the formula's changed. So we need to obviously have special labs to see, did it strengthen the formula? Did it, compromise the integrity of the formula? What exactly happened to the actual formula in space? From here, we move into microgravity testing in parabolic microgravity, as well as the fighter jets, as well as suborbital. And that's where we are partnering with certain astronauts and certain people that will be in those situations to further test the performance on the clinical trials on these products, while also using that data now to create further products for the brand.
Wow. So those parabolic flights, those will be wear tests in the
Mm-hmm.
future? Or is it just going to be, they're also carrying the
Both,
product and
both,
seeing how it reacts?
both. Yeah, we're really
Wow.
excited. We've signed some incredible partnerships. We found, as much as space is so regulated by government entities, and they're kind of not as open as we are as a brand in doing things. So they're very structured in the way they do things. But there are so many private space companies that are emerging, and there's so many amazing CEOs of these companies that are very science driven, very future focused. And so we have found that by partnering with them, we're able to have access to really unique data, as well as really pushing the limits on the testing with products, and even like seeing, how we can take, some of the skin regeneration, some of the stem cell regeneration, and even create products that would help burn victims. We already know the bomb works so well that it works great on post cancer radiation as a treatment because of the anti inflammatory effects. that we found out from all of the space testing.
Okay, so as a lesser educated person in the makeup world and cosmetics world, can you give me a rundown of like what your range of products are and what they do? And you've kind of delved on this already, but like, do you only stick in the cosmetic beauty realm, or are you also um, getting into the health and wellness side? And then bonus question, are you looking at like all gender and all people solutions, or is it like a certain demographic within that?
No, okay, so yes, we are. Let me tell you a little bit about the range. So right now we have our core range that all of it was actually certified for space. So we've got three full size beauty batons. The first one is the cleanse and prime. So we have a tri-phase anhydrous waterless cleanser. It's a very unique technology. So when you apply it, it goes from a balm, it breaks down into an oil, and then it breaks down into a very fine microfoam. So literally all you do is you swipe it on, massage it in, and wipe it off. So no water needed, super easy, takes space debris off of your skin, as well as like dust pollution, makeup. You can even remove pen if you got pen stuck on your hand or something. And then on the other side of that one baton, the cleanse and prime, we have a daily face serum primer, and it's got a purple hue. Actually, let me just show you the products too for those that are watching. Um, and this is actually our Wingman to the Stars kit that launched with the Axiom 4 mission, and we had
Oh,
partnered with
nice.
Black Star Orbital, a really great defense company and aerospace company, because they're an orbital wingman, and we needed our Wingman to the Stars because it was our first space mission. So we were able to really come together and create something amazing. So, like I said, on one side is this tri-phase waterless cleanser. You swipe it on, massage it in, wipe it off, and you're good to go. Quick change. And then on the other side is that face serum and blurring primer. So I bring a lot of my knowledge, not only as a formulator, but as a celebrity makeup artist, into the mix. So the reason that it's got a purple hue to it is it's actually a secret we used on set, because it creates an optical illusion on the skin. So it's almost like you've got your own ring light following you around town. So the purple casts a halo effect on the skin. So this is great if you just need like good moisture, you want to blur out any fine lines and pores. So this is the first beauty baton. The second one is my favorite, and they're all, by the way, anyone can use these. Obviously, initially made for women that wanted, things that really kind of supported their fast lifestyles. But we have a lot of guys that love this, especially this balm. So this is a multifunctional hydrating balm. It's got all of the global beauty secrets from India, Mexico, France, Egypt, um, the South Pacific, and then we've got this incredible oceanic biotech in there. And the biotech ingredients are actually these coastal plants that have survived the harshest coastline. So they're super resilient, which is what you need when you want products that really perform. So we even have a marine retinol in this. And I don't know if you know much about retinol and all the anti-aging benefits, but it does come with a lot of side effects because it, can make you peel. It makes your skin red. If you've got any type of pigment in your skin tone, it can make you hyperpigment and spot when you go out in the sun. The marine retinol gives you all of the same benefits as the clinical one with no side effects. So that is something that is in these products under the biotech side, and it's amazing. So these, you'll see a difference in your skin within like 2 weeks. On the other side, again, knowing like what you can and can't do in space, and also when you're traveling, is an exfoliating scrub, but it's a waterless technology. So it's actually built into the balm. So one of the things that happens obviously when you're in space is everything's kind of pulled down, you lose that moisture barrier, your skin starts to thin. So even the littlest, scrub particle can scratch this and, start to scratch the skin because it's become so thin. So these ones are actually sugar particles that are built into this balm. So when you apply it, massage it in and wipe it off, what it does is it pushes all the moisture back into the skin while removing any type of dead, dull, dry skin that's already on the face or hands or anywhere you need that. Now, what's really unique about what we've done is we actually have makeup that was approved and certified for space as well, because everything was built into the skincare first, because I believe that there's no reason to put makeup on if you're not getting any benefits out of it. Like, what's the point? So I want my makeup to work as hard as my skincare does. So this is our highlighter and contour. So this is also certified for space. This is the Sculpt and Shine. Again, multi-use. You can use these as eyeshadows, highlighters, in your brows. We did win Best Contour of the Year in 2023. This is a true neutral that you can use in multiple ways. And then what we have in the brand are these add-ons, and these are on the go lip and cheek stains and eye stains that you can just tap 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 and go. So whoever does want to wear makeup in space, we've got you covered on that end as well. And then as we start to build out the brand, we have some really exciting things that I'll be able to share with you soon that we're working on that really bring some more deeper space science into what we're doing. As far as we have so many men that want a beauty baton, they want their own baton. And because we did break some defense records, we are working on creating more tactical of the skincare for the military, as well as, just there's a lot of men out there that want to take care of their skin. And there's a lot of, as many female astronauts that have reached out to me pretty regularly now because they're so excited that they have a product they can use here on Earth and in orbit. We're getting the same from men. And at the end of the day, skin is skin. It doesn't lie. It remembers every fight. It remembers every flight. And so if we can bring that self-care, not cosmetics, but really at the end of the day, this is self-care. This is how are we extending the life of the skin? How are we making the skin more resilient? What's the longevity behind this? Then we've done our job.
Wow. So you mentioned that your line is not, you don't think of it as just cosmetics. You think of it as health, wellness, it's skincare, it is for self-care. And I'm so curious if there were someone who were in a space program who were worried about your products being, taking up some sort of space in the packing list of an astronaut, and they claimed that these products were superfluous to that packing list. What would you say to them?
I mean, look, I think they're very portable on purpose. They're very versatile on purpose. They're very dynamic, as everyone is dynamic on purpose. And so, at the end of the day, like for me, especially if you're going to space and you're in those environments that are like so tiny and you just there's not enough room in there, like you're going to need time for self-care. And at the end of the day, this is self-care. This is all rooted in ritual, right? So we have all of this ancient wisdom that's in it, but there's still a ritual behind taking care of yourself. And so I think it's like a must for everybody. And we're not taking up that much space in your bag at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And self-care is so crucial. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you think the importance of self-care is to not only care for the mental health of people who are using these products, but also um, impact their performance? Do you think that an astronaut who is focusing on self-care will perform better
100%. Well,
at their
first
job?
off, I mean, like, you can't beat, I'm a firm believer that confidence is a game changer for everybody. And when you have unmatched confidence, you have unmatched leverage in anything that you want to go after. So for me, self care is the base of giving yourself that unmatched confidence, because when you look good or when you're taking care of yourself, you feel good and you have a lot more energy to go out there and go after the things that you want. So that's first and foremost. From a mental health perspective, it's so important that you are just taking time with yourself, slowing down. If you think about it in space, like really, how are you grounding yourself? You know, there's no technically there's no ground, right, that you can stand on. So like, how are you grounding yourself? And a lot of that can be done through, self-care and taking that time to, take care of your skin, take care of your thoughts. There's a lot of neuroscience that even went into the design around this. This is a very sensorial design. The solid formulas actually create a lot of mental ease, because you're not thinking about like, oh, do I have to use this liquid? Do I have to use this cream? It's just easy. It takes all of the the thoughts out of having to do anything more than just literally take care of yourself. So for me, self-care is something that everybody should have, and it's a wonderful way to start and finish your day because it gives that time for you to slow down. And, if you can do it intentionally, even have good self-talk in the mirror, but to take that time for yourself and just piece out of everything else that's going on around you.
We're going to take a quick break and recharge. We'll be back in a minute.
Bodies behave differently in space. Hydration floats, skin gets confused, sensation changes. At Ready Set Jet, we know this firsthand because we've actually been to space. RSJ is the world's first biotech skincare brand certified for space. Our Beauty Baton spent 18 days in orbit, traveling 8.4 million miles on the Axiom 4 mission. Waterless, zero mess, designed for bodies in motion, on Earth or off it. Discover Ready Set Jet, groundbreaking science, great skin, any gravity. ReadySetJetOfficial.com.
Use code 0g-SPOT20 to save 20% on products at Ready Set Jet on their website, ReadySetJetOfficial.com. That's the number 0g-SPOT20 to save 20% on products at Ready Set Jet on their website, ReadySetJetOfficial.com.
Welcome back to the 0G Spot.
There's a lot more science that is going into this than I thought, so that's awesome to learn about. I'm curious, especially as you look to make products for the space environment and for living and working in space. Are you looking to bake in any additional benefits that are useful specifically to space? I'm thinking of things like radiation shielding or protection, or things of that nature that you don't necessarily encounter on Earth. But is that an angle you're looking into?
Yeah, we're already in discussions to see, like, what happens with the skin in these spacesuits. Like, how are they taking care of their skin in these spacesuits? We already know that, if they don't cover their feet, that the bottom of their feet start to peel, and that's where, like, a lot of this anti-inflammatory, really healing and protection building bombs come in. So yes, there are a lot of things that, for space, given that we already now have a very strong foundation and knowledge around what happens to the skin and body in space, that's going to allow us to create even more higher performing products for obviously the space industry. But at the end of the day, it's like, how are we translating this back to you, me, and Alicia, that we can actually use these and have that same performance? Or if you're, an NBA player or, an F1 driver, are these going to perform? Because you're in these, like, super crazy environments that you don't have time for your product to just kind of shit out on you. I mean, like, you gotta, like, have products that are gonna support that lifestyle, and that's really what we're able to learn from space. And we already have, like, great radiation defense proprietary blends in this. We're not technically saying that they're SPF, but they definitely have a shield on the skin against radiation, and that translates really well to people that are flying a lot, because you face a lot harsher radiation on a plane than you do on the ground.
So you would recommend probably that somebody flying at high altitudes, for instance, would pair an SPF product with one of your
They could, but
products?
we already actually have a great UV defense system in these blends that are coming out from the biotech.
Oh,
So they work already, and obviously dry cabin air, no difference than the dehydrating, conditions in space. So a lot translates. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that, what you face in space, is just a harsher version of what we're facing in our day-to-day life here. And, if it works there in the most harshest, as far as I'm concerned, lab in the world, then, we know it's going to perform here, and it's going to really do wonders for your skin.
well, on that note, bringing things back to Earth, I'm super curious if you could share any anecdotes or examples of harsh environments that your products have already been worn in here on
I mean,
Earth.
initially, when I had received the Mahatma Gandhi Award, I was like, we have to create something that's anti pollution, because I don't know if you guys have been to India, or especially Delhi in the winter. Like, when you land, it's called smoke. Like that's the weather forecast is smoke, because there's so much pollution and the fog, it just hangs. And, as we know that, all these free radicals are what are aging the skin and aging the body at an accelerated rate. So for me, my first thing that I wanted to create was a defense for pollution, because that is one of the most aging, environmental conditions out there. Second, I really worked on making these, had to go through a number of iterations to make them climate adaptable, because we knew that at this point in my career and my journey, everybody's a phone call away, especially for our team. So we knew that we'd be selling these all over the world in different environments. Dubai is another great example. You get upwards of 120 degrees. These have an exceptionally high melt point, so they don't melt. But they work in these desert conditions. Initially, when I went in and started creating these, the reason that I was really interested in the harsh environments and knowing that this was going to be global and ideally wanting to go to space is I had spent a lot of my career just having access to scientists that would go to Siberia or come back from Antarctica, and they'd have these open sores on their skin. And it was like always trying to find, they'd always come in like, what can I use? My skin's a mess from, being in Antarctica or being in Siberia, and like the wind whipping my skin and all of that. And that was really why for this particular brand, Ready Set Jet, I wanted to create products that actually would create a difference on the skin and would be very healing to it. So work great for rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, acne, women going through menopause. Like these ingredients really, really get to come in and balance and protect the skin. So yes, they've been used everywhere. They've been used by athletes. They've been used by astronauts. They've been used, by the everyday people that are out there, hitting the ground running, and they work. And what's nice, again, going back to the waterless anhydrous nature of them, is on the makeup side. If you're a woman, your products are going to last forever because it's pure pigment, pretty much, that you're putting on your skin.
So, in terms of application, less is more, I would assume.
100%. I mean, unless you want to be really
Okay.
bold and you want to make a statement, but I love finger application. Like literally, I'll just tap and it's on for hours. It doesn't fade, And again, like the skincare, I notice such a difference in my skin when I use it regularly, and then when I just stop using it, like the radiance and the brightness just kind of disappears. So it's a significant change in the skin when you start using these products because of the ingredients. They're specifically formulated to create change on the skin.
Well, I'd love to shift the conversation for us into a more speculative, imaginative zone, because I know that you are somebody who absolutely lives and works in those realms and is a, trailblazer and barrier breaker. And one of the barriers that we are interested in breaking in our near future is introducing intimacy and sex into space. And so I'm curious, where do you see the self-care ritual of your products, or even the cosmetic side of your products, increasing confidence, all of those things? What role might your products play in a first date in space, for instance?
Okay, first of all, I love this because it's so like out there, but at the same time, it's so real because of the amount of human space travel that's starting to happen, that like it's not that far off as far as I'm concerned. So, just like you're going to get ready for a date here, like you are going to want to do the same. Whether you're in space, you want to look good, right? You want to feel sexy. Can we create like a solid fragrance even? Like this is where we can start to really think about, what goes into making you feel sexy, what goes into increasing the intimacy between people. Obviously, scent is such a big part of it. Texture of the skin, like the softer the skin, the sexier a person feels. So those are all different parts and of playing into intimacy in space that our products are going to be perfect for, because they're going to give you the softness, they're going to give you like a sexy scent, they're going to give you the confidence to go out there. And then of course, now that we know that the makeup works up there, then you can like have a really good pop of red on your lips and know you're going to rock out your space session. Yeah, see, you're wearing it, red's such a power color. So, I mean, it's the beauty secret of the women in Paris. If you go there, you'll notice they all have a red lip and black liner, and that's it.
Wow, classic, absolutely classic.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting, actually. I mean, I was actually having this conversation with somebody in Houston a couple of weeks ago, and we were like, so if you have sex in space and you get pregnant and like thinking like way out in the future, and then like, what if you give birth in space? Like, what nationality is that child? We started thinking about all of these, different like scenarios. I don't know why we even got on this conversation, but we literally sat there at a hotel in Houston after I had went and visited Axiom, and we were talking about like, so like, how does this work and what exactly happens, and what nationality is it, and like, is it a free zone? All these things. And so I think it's actually an interesting conversation to have, because there's so much unknown out there, and it's not that far off.
Yeah, and there are
Mm.
some groups researching the reproduction part. We're definitely not experts in that, but I know that there have been other groups that have been trying to like make a space nation, quote unquote. I think there was a group a few years ago called Asgardia, and you can sign up to be a registered resident of Asgardia, which was space. And so I imagine at some point there may be something like that. But yeah, you're right. There are more and more opportunities for space flight every day.
Hmm.
New commercial companies coming along, orbital, suborbital, like different opportunities. And so I mean, I think we're within a few years of, let's just call it the first date in space. But I think it's probably happening sooner than we expect, and so being able to prepare for it situationally, making yourself look good and feel good, all going to be super crucial.
I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the morning show. I watched the first episode last night of the new season, and they were in space. So it's, not to give it away, I know that was a spoiler alert, but so I don't think it's that far off. And then you're seeing a lot of suborbital. You're seeing more and more people go up. I think first dates could possibly happen this year. To be honest, Eric, I really feel like we're not that far off with the amount of people that are going up, even just to the Carmen line. So I mean, that could be the initial first date. So, but I think, given that, there's companies that want to build hotels in space, and the space tourism side of things, we need to be ready and we need to look good. I mean, look at the girls from Blue Origin. They looked great when they went up.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the Blue Origin flight because I was really disappointed by the discourse and the sort of fallout after that particular flight. Personally, I was disheartened to see that um, there were so many sexist jokes. There was so much misogyny in the criticism, and I believe, there is definitely some valid criticism about space tourism and how that as a vehicle for entertainment or exploration, how that has a place in our society that's so striated and so inequitable. But that didn't seem like it was the main thrust of the criticism of this particular Blue Origin flight. Do you have any thoughts about kind of what happened with that
I mean, look,
conversation?
this may be controversial. So, first, obviously, I'm very pro women. We have a Pass the Baton initiative. We're 90% female funded. I launched a women's platform at the United Nations. So, to see an all female flight go up, I thought that was phenomenal. Now, where not everyone will agree with me, I think given the climate that we were in, people were like struggling to buy eggs. They were trying to put gas in their car. It I think they could have done a better job, especially as, first of all, they had true astronauts that I feel were overshadowed, which was a shame. And then between like Katie and, Gail and Lauren, like there's enough money in there that had they made just even like a $10 million donation to STEM to push science forward, I think it would have changed the entire point of view on that flight. We got a lot of pushback after that. A lot of people thought this was a vanity play. When we got to Cape Canaveral for our Axiom 4 launch, there was a lot of men from the European Space Agency, the Indian Space Agency, NASA, all of these guys, and they kind of came up and they gave me guff. I mean, they were like, oh, This is a vanity play. Oh, makeup. Oh, and I was like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Like, and we had really hard time, post the Blue Origin flight, telling the world what we were doing because they didn't take it seriously. We were kind of put into that, like, oh, is this just fake eyelashes and hair extensions and women just want to go look good and go up. And I'm like, no, this is legitimate science. Like, this is true science. This is real innovation. This is a lot of biotech that we put in, a lot of, studying of what happens to the skin in space. We're using, this is not a marketing ploy for us. This is literally us wanting to create a new vertical in the world and utilize the science from space. So by the second day, we were getting, the heads were starting to turn and they were like, oh, this is a real thing. And then by the third day, it was, Shalini, what can we do to help you? This is amazing. We had no idea that there was so much science and innovation behind it. But that initial, first, impression that we got was a lot of people didn't want to think it's real. They didn't want to take it seriously. They thought it was a vanity play. They thought it was just another beauty brand like any other one that was, kind of, we had a lot of people saying, oh, are you doing this now because of the Blue Origin flight? And I'm like, no, we've been doing this. This is like almost 2 years in the works of getting us up there. Like, we just didn't decide right after Blue Origin that a month later we're on the Axiom 4 mission and, we're going up because Blue Origin went up. So it's been an interesting situation for us to navigate. I find I was a little bit disappointed because I feel that these women had such an incredible opportunity to celebrate science and to celebrate the true astronauts that were on their mission with them, and to show the world that there's never been a more important time in our existence to talk about science, to talk about innovation, and to really utilize space as the next frontier for all kinds of research on cancer, on burn victims, on anything on the medical side that we could then bring back to our planet. And so I feel like there was a kind of a big miss on how they promoted it and how it was communicated to the world. I think it's amazing they
Yeah,
all went up, and we get asked that all the time to have an all women flight to go up. We've been asked quite a few times actually. But it has to be done the right way, and it has to be done with integrity and with purpose and with impact attached to it. And that's my 2 cents on that flight. But yeah, I was disappointed because I also was reading a lot of the comments, and it just, it was kind of sad because it could have been really amazing.
I I'm coming from the same place. I was really disappointed both from with the media reception of the Blue Flight as well as just the PR prep for it. And I think there were a lot of lessons learned. And I was also really disappointed with the lack of coverage on Alicia, or excuse me, Aisha and Amanda, who were
Yeah.
flying on that flight, who have very credible space careers. And
And great, incredible stories. I mean, just what they
yeah,
had gone through in their careers and their journeys to even get to that point was so, could have been, I mean, it was so inspiring for, those of us that had really leaned in to learn more about them. But think about this, the next generation of girls to be able to see, like, these are really bold, courageous women that still stayed true to their dreams and their goals. And here they are. And I,
yeah,
and I agree with you, Eric. There was a big kind of communication miss on that.
it's all good. Maybe next time when you go up, it'll be all the kinks will be fixed and
I
it'll
don't
go
know.
great.
I don't know, but I definitely think that, we have a responsibility, especially, if you have any type of influence in the industry and in the world, that there is a responsibility to pay it forward, especially to the next generation. I mean, it's been a really an amazing journey for me, just to hear from so many women in space that are scientists, that are engineers, that are astronauts, that are researchers that have reached out to me and said, Shalini, we didn't realize that, one, we never felt like anyone was talking to us, like we felt invisible, and two, we never felt that we could actually be beautiful and smart at the same time. Like, we feel like we've had to completely downplay the beauty side of our personal lives in order to just to survive in this industry. And that really kind of bothered me, and I was like, okay, well, we're going to push STEM. We're going to make STEM sexy, because it is at the end of the day. Like, and so, we're signing a partnership at IAC actually that will push STEM education to over 12,000 girls globally. Um, to help them create the next, big innovation in space. And I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
I know that some of the sound bites from that Blue Origin coverage and the return from that flight, particularly from Katy Perry, were so uh, they were so evocative, like putting the ass in astronaut and wanting to bring glam to space. And she was really she was really ganged up on in response to those comments. But I'm I'm hearing from you that there is room for glam in space, and there is room for sexiness and beauty in STEM. Could you talk to me a little bit more about how those things coexist, or in the way that you see it?
Well, look, we started this entire conversation that, confidence, I truly believe that a confident woman can change the world. And I don't feel that you need to apologize for wanting to feel beautiful. I don't think you need to downplay the fact that you can be a smart, bold, courageous woman and be a good looking woman that likes to take care of herself at the same time. So, my hope is that we can change that narrative. But, in the same light, I think it's just really the delivery on the messaging, right? Yeah, we could put ass in astronaut and bring glam to space, but at the end of the day, you can do the same thing without necessarily making it like that. You can bring great self care to these women. You can make them look beautiful and confident, and you can celebrate how you want to be your personal, authentic self by using certain products in space and on Earth. And you shouldn't be punished for that. Like, what's wrong with being bold, beautiful, and smart? That's what I want to know. And I think that every woman
Great
should do
question.
that. I mean, I remember I had a call with a woman, and she was literally sitting in her car and did the Zoom with me, and she's like, "I'm the only woman in my entire company, but I knew I was talking to you today, and I wore my pink pants and my pink glasses, but I have to do this call in the car." So, so it's interesting.
No.
I mean, it's been a big learning experience for me to realize that, wow, there's a lot of really amazing, smart, beautiful women that aren't even allowing themselves the permission to be who they truly want to be because of what the industry has told them who they have to be. And so my hope is that we can change that, because we're not telling you to be somebody else. We're just telling you to enhance your own beauty, to, look, feel beautiful, to go out there, accomplish your goals, and to have the products that are also going to take care of your skin, are going to give you that mental, boost that you need, and that are going to work, and that are also going to encapsulate your day-to-day job as a scientist, or, as a space researcher. So you get to also play with that as well. So I really hope that we can change the narrative around this, especially given, some of the first experiences we had coming out the gate with a lot of like raised eyebrows and, what are you doing and why are you doing this? And this is stupid, kind of thing. And so I think the science is what really, at the end of the day, is pushing this forward in a way that makes it not such a vanity play.
This industry is painfully addicted to its past ways and actions. And my hair's been blue now for about 5.5 years. And when I first dyed it, I got a lot of scoffs, let's just say from the old guard in the space industry, as a male, as a white male, um, with blue hair. Like, trust me, I was the only one at conferences with blue hair. Nowadays, you see a bit more color, but um, so I can only understand a fraction of the ridicule, intimidation, and just ingrained um, societal features of the space industry that are still sticking around. And I've been excited to see that at a lot of small space startups. I mean, it's way different, right? You've got people with, let's just say, all kinds of hair, tattoos everywhere, wearing within reason whatever they want and looking and feeling good as themselves. And I'm hoping we see more and more of that as we go.
Well, that's the new guard coming in, right? So, I mean, that's what's so interesting. Obviously, we're part of that new part of space, the consumer space economy, I guess is what you can call us, right? And it's interesting because yes, you're right. There is so many people that I've met that are still like stuck in the past, and it has to be this way, like very rigid, like not any outside of the box thinking.
We do it this way because we do it this way.
Exactly. But in the same light, you've got all of this like privatized space coming in. And these are the visionaries, and these are the big thinkers, and these are the bold risk takers. And for me, it's like, I feel like the old guard needs to like really get current, because otherwise they're going to get passed over completely if they're not, open to changing with the current times.
Yeah,
Because
it'll
we're
be
not going
interesting to
backwards,
see.
we're looking forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm even looking forward to the reception that this podcast gets. I mean, for clarity, this podcast is not for the space industry, right? Like, we of course want them to listen, but or at least me, I understand that it's probably going to get a lot of pushback, and we're not being that provocative. You're just mentioning sex and space and how it's going to happen, but I can tell you, even with that statement, there were a couple pearls clutched out there somewhere.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, look, I feel like if there's ever been an industry of innovation, I mean, obviously there's a lot of industries that innovate, but like space is kind of the ultimate playground to innovate. And, what you're talking about eventually is going to happen. So, why not start the conversation now? And yes, it might not be for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's something that everybody's doing.
For sure.
And, and Shalini, because we are wrapping up and we are looking towards the future, I wanted to ask you just a little fun, silly question, if you would indulge me. If you were to go on a space flight and you had your tiny little bag of approved items, maybe besides your batons from Ready, Set, Jet, what would you pack to bring to space?
Okay, well, I mean, definitely my phone, because I need to talk to everybody. But I have these products from my Passport to Beauty brand that took three years to make, but I love them because they play really heavy on mental health, aromatherapy, planets, quantum physics, science. So these are real gemstones. So this is like a real jade. This is a real tiger eye, which, is very close to Saturn. We've got rose quartz, which is like Venus. So it plays on the planets, but each one has its own power. So if you think about all the cultures across the world that have like told you, oh, you need to go and, wear an 8 carat ruby on this finger to change your destiny, or you go to China and they're like, okay, you need to wear these stones here, or even here with crystals, like, keep a rose quartz if you want more self-love, or go get pyrite if you want money. This is kind of the same concept of, there's energy in stones, and there's energy in, if you think about meteorites, right, they're like the ultimate universe, you know um, stone or ingredient that's like passed through God knows how many centuries. They've been floating around all over the universe, and then you're able to actually get a hold of one and the energy behind it. So these have 100% natural oils in them, and they actually power the vibration of the stone. So I worked with crystal healers, chakra specialists, my chemists, to come up with the exact blend that powers the vibration. So you're getting the vibrational beauty, you're getting the aromatherapy for either sleep, energy, balance, positive vibes, whatever, self love. So, again, for me, I'm very big on ritual. Like, what am I doing every day, whether it's meditation, affirmations, positive thinking. And these are kind of my tools to do that. So, these would absolutely have to go with me, because the jade one is so yummy. I could just eat it because it's all minty and gives you energy right away. So, this, and then, obviously my phone, obviously my beauty batons, my space certified beauty batons. And then, if I could take a blanket, I have my little blankie that I travel with. That's kind of my baby blankie. So I would take that, and
Aw.
music, if I could take music with me. I mean, that's For me, I'm a firm believer that you can manifest and come up with anything with the right ingredients, and that's really playing on the five senses, right? Like what are you visualizing, what are you smelling, what are you listening to, what's taking you to where you want to go. And while I'm up there, I want to have those tools with me so I can make the most out of my space trip.
Amazing. Well, maybe one day we will see your products be mainstays in the space station pharmacy that apparently exists on every space station.
Yes.
Um, well, thank you so much, Shalini. Is there anything else that you would like to plug or to tell us about? Any projects that you're looking forward to debuting or anything like that before
Yeah.
you leave
So,
us?
one, obviously, if you want to learn more about Ready Set Jet, just go to readysetjetofficial.com or at Ready Set Jet Beauty on Instagram. You can also follow me at Shalini Vadhera on Instagram. One of the things I'm really excited about is at IAC, we are launching our Space Human Advancement Council, so an international space council of top executives, visionaries, and thought leaders to really bridge industries together and to utilize the knowledge and the learnings of space to create the next generation of products across industries. So, not just beauty and wellness, fashion, music, all of that. And in really taking all of these visionaries to come together and create a council that's going to lead this effort to bridge orbit and Earth. So I'm really excited about that. And for me, I mean, honestly, I'm still learning. And so, I feel like everyone that follows me is learning along with me. I mean, I think for us, we had so much frustration and so much fun at the same time of learning about slip clauses and why our rocket date kept slipping and getting ready to go see it, and everybody's waiting and counting down, and then all of a sudden like they scrub the takeoff and you're just like, what is going on? So we're having a blast, and come learn with us.
I was at one of those scrubbed launches, so I felt that with you. So it's been amazing having you. Appreciate all the insight. I know I learned a ton.
Well, thank
Um,
you guys very much for
yeah,
having me.
awesome. See you in Australia.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
excited. We'll have fun, Eric.
Sounds good.
Bye
Bye,
guys, thank
Shalini.
you.
Okay,
Okay, yeah. What?
so let's talk about Shalini and her products and how that really ties in as a foundational building block for the conversation that we're having about sex in space.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to make a joke about how the word foundation relates to this, but um, I learned a lot.
Oh yeah,
Makeup foundation. Come on.
I get
Yeah,
it.
I'm
I get
sorry.
it
I'm
now.
sorry.
Okay.
Not talking about Asimov's foundation. Um,
Right.
of course not. Of course not. So I learned a lot. Like honestly, I'm not the most educated on makeup stuff. Believe it or not, I know looking at me, I have flawless skin, but I learned a ton about like the biochemistry of it, the science behind it, and the effort it takes to like really investigate these aspects. And um, it's crazy to me. But like you're mentioning, we're really building this thing up, right? We're trying to put together the pieces of how do we make sex in space a human experience and not a laboratory experiment, right? I think that's the last thing any of us want.
Hmm.
And I think this is a big piece of it. The concept of like looking good and feeling good leads to doing good, and I guess doing each other good.
Right. Yes. She mentioned people with sores on their face when they come back from Antarctica or Siberia. And I'm just thinking about the way that the blood rushes to your head and bulges your eyeballs out. Like when you're in space, when you're in zero gravity, I have to imagine that any little thing that you could do to reclaim some semblance of beauty and self-care would make a huge difference in your readiness to have sex. I mean, think about like she had mentioned maybe experimenting with a product in the future that's a solid perfume. And we know that your scent, your sense of smell is severely impaired in zero gravity. So you're not able to smell your partner. There's a ton of science about how that's a big part of attraction, right? Pheromones and all of these things. Imagine if you could make some sort of a pheromones baton in Shalini's arsenal of products.
Yes, this is her love potion for space, and you just rub it right across your forehead. And uh,
Yeah. Who knows?
yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, not so literally as I explained it, but I think the way you explained it is a lot better. You know, yeah, if you're talking about sense, if you're talking about invigorating the various senses you have, then use whatever science and capabilities you have, right? Like, let's, as they say in video games, like, let's min max this thing. Like, let's get as much out of as little as possible. So, yeah, I mean, why not make a rose scented pheromone stick?
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting the sense that humans will need all the help they can get to get it up in space. I mean, like it's not going to be just as easy as waltzing into a rose-strewn bedroom and seeing your absolute fantasy partner sprawled out on the bed.
No, instead it's going to be like a cloud of rose petals, and then your partner kind of just bouncing off the wall, trying to hold a sexy pose while like flipping over. I think is closer to reality.
And while being constipated and maybe about to
Well,
vomit.
you know, one step at a time. Okay, let's assume this is like day 4. They've gotten over the nausea. All
Okay.
right.
Good. Good. Yeah. Well, I am super excited to have more conversations with you and other special guests about all of the building blocks that go into making this possible, right? Setting the mood, whether that be in your own body or in your environment. I'm looking forward to what we can discover next, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, we are exploring the environment, the body, and the mind, right? And what sort of fantasy you can put together too. And so maybe we'll talk about that down the road. But we got a lot of exciting conversations coming up, and it's going to be a fun ride. I know I say this every time, but I am super excited for the ride we're on.
Me too. Definitely stick around and catch us on the next episode of Zero G Spot.
See you then. Can't wait.
Bodies behave differently in space. Hydration floats, skin gets confused, sensation changes. At Ready Set Jet, we know this firsthand because we've actually been to space. RSJ is the world's first biotech skincare brand certified for space. Our Beauty Baton spent 18 days in orbit, traveling 8.4 million miles on the Axiom 4 mission. Waterless, zero mess, designed for bodies in motion, on Earth or off it. Discover Ready Set Jet, groundbreaking science, great skin, any gravity. ReadySetJetOfficial.com.
Use code 0g-SPOT20 to save 20% on products at Ready Set Jet on their website, ReadySetJetOfficial.com. That's the number 0g-SPOT20 to save 20% on products at Ready Set Jet on their website, ReadySetJetOfficial.com.